Has anybody ever been to Colorado before? Going this summer? A couple of you? So I've never been to Colorado. I want to get out there. I've heard it's beautiful. But I want to talk about Colorado this morning. You see, because Colorado has a really interesting topographical landscape. The state is essentially pretty much split in half. On the western side of the state, you have the Great Rockies, right? And then on the eastern side of the state, you have the Great Kansas Plains. It's very flat. And so Colorado is one of the only places in the world that has both buffaloes and cows in a really close proximity. And I think it's really interesting sometimes to study nature. I think that nature can sometimes teach us a lot about success and a lot about leadership. And I think that the buffaloes and the cows in Colorado can teach us a lot. You see, because the buffaloes and the cows respond very differently to the storms that come in Colorado. You see, in Colorado, the storms brew and they come in from the west. And the cows over on the eastern side of the state, on the plains side of the state, they can sense that the storm is coming from the west. And when they sense that the storm is coming from the west, they react in a very certain way. Any guesses on what the cows do when the storm's coming? Take shelter. What else? They don't really have anywhere to go, Gmo. It's wide open.
Sometimes you have wind blocks.
Wind blocks? Okay. What else do you think they might do? What would you do?
Bunch up.
Bunch up? Okay, that's a good idea. Any other guesses? Okay, so what the cows try to do is they try to run in the opposite direction. Right? Pretty simple idea. Okay, the storm's coming from the west, so they try to run to the east. They try to run away from the storm. What's the problem with that? How fast is a cow? You see, there's kind of a big problem with that. Cows are not a very fast animal. And so, if you can imagine, the storm is moving a little bit quicker than the cows are. And so, eventually what happens is the storm catches up to the cows. Unfortunately, the cows don't understand, and so they keep trying to outrun the storm. And so what actually happens is, instead of outrunning the storm, they're running with the storm. And you see, when the cows run with the storm, they experience the storm for a much longer period of time. It actually makes it more difficult for them. They're actually underneath the storm for a longer period of time. As human beings, we do this all the time. The inevitable storms, challenges, problems in our lives, we try to run from. And we just end up making them worse, right? You see, the buffaloes act in a very different way. You see, over on the western part of the state, on the Rocky Mountain side of the state, we have the buffaloes. And as the storm is coming over the mountains and the buffaloes sense that there is a storm coming, they react in a very certain way as well. And they all move in a certain direction. You see, but the buffaloes are different from the cow. The buffalo turn and they look right at that storm. And they charge directly at the storm. And what happens is they end up running through the storm. And so yes, they still experience a little bit of the storm, but because they're moving this way and the storm is moving this way, they actually experience it for a much shorter period of time. The pain, the frustration that they feel is much less by tackling the storm head on. You see, as human beings, we would be much better served to face our storms, our problems head on, to run directly at them instead of trying to run away from them. You see, I think we can learn a lot from these two different creatures in Colorado. And I think that the two very different reactions that these animals have in nature directly corresponds to two mindsets that we have as human beings. You see, in this class for the last few weeks, we've been talking a lot about failure. We've been talking a lot about setbacks. We've been talking a lot about storms. And I think in life, and actually this is proven by research, but in life, human beings have two different mindsets that you typically fall under. The first one is a fixed mindset. Any guesses on what this mindset says?
This is where you have to set on one thing.
Yeah, so it's set in stone, right? When we have a fixed mindset, characteristics, qualities, skills, all of the things about us as human beings we believe are carved in stone. That there's not much we can really do to change that. Whether or not you are a good student, whether or not you get good grades, your skills as an athlete, how well you talk in front of people. When we have a fixed mindset, when we're stuck in a fixed mindset, we believe that we either have it or we don't. And that there's not a lot that we can do to change that. I know I have several athletes in here. I know I have several people in here who play basketball. How many of you in here are really good at using your left hand in basketball? How many of you are like me and absolutely hated it when your coach said, okay, now we're going to do left-handed layups? Yeah. So, when we have that belief, that's a fixed mindset, right? I'm really bad with my left hand. And so if you're like me, when you have that mindset, what do? You use your left hand less and less, right? Because you're not good at it, you don't use it. And so what does that do? It reinforces the belief that we're not very good with our left hand. And because we don't practice, because we don't use it, we do get worse. Right? That's the fixed mindset. We do that over and over and over as human beings. When we believe that we haven't or we don't, our ego is going to try and protect us. When we believe that we're not very good at basketball, we don't try out for the team. Because we're worried that if we don't make it, we're going to feel like we're not good enough. When we believe that we're not very good at math, we don't try. We let our ego try and protect us. You see, the growth mindset is very different. The growth mindset believes that your characteristics, your skills, your traits as human beings can be changed. We might not be very good at math. Math may come harder to us than some other people. But when you have a growth mindset, you believe that with practice, you can get better at it. You might believe that you're not very good with your left hand in basketball, and it may be true. But with the growth mindset, you believe that practice can change that. With a growth mindset, you believe that everything is in your best interest and an opportunity to learn and grow. With a growth mindset, you believe that skills, characteristics, traits are malleable. You have the power to change them. You know, earlier this week we talked about Nick Foles. And we talked about that really dark moment in his life, that really bad storm that he went through when he was cut and was told he wasn't good enough. What kind of mindset do you think Nick Foles had? Fixed or growth? Growth. Right? If he had a fixed mindset, when he got cut from LA, the fixed mindset would have said, "You're not good enough." And he probably would have walked away from the game, right? Instead, he had a growth mindset. He said, "This may be true right now, but I can change it." And that's what he did. And 12 months later, he's Super Bowl MVP. So my question for you today is to think about your life. Have you been acting like the cow? Have you been acting like the buffalo? The different areas in your life, are you in a fixed mindset or are you in a growth mindset? Are you stuck believing that how you are as a human being is not easily changeable? Or do you believe that you have the power to choose to change the basic characteristics of who you are as a human being? My encouragement for you this morning is to be the buffalo. Chase the problems, the storms, the obstacles in your life head on. Go be the buffalo, win the day.